Hey everyone, and welcome to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
This is a science fiction movie podcast. We talk about sci-fi movies every episode, and this week we are talking about Jurassic Park 3. We're returning to the franchise. We started with the first one a couple of months ago, and we're here. This is kind of our late 2019, early 2020 project, and we'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get the spoilers, if indeed you are worried about spoilers for Jurassic Park 3. You probably aren't, but just in case, we'll have to be considerate, just in case. So that is the plan. Unfortunately, the first bit of bad news with Jurassic Park 3 is that there is zero John Hammond in this movie, so I have very little to quote.
Shucks.
Authentically. He might have even been dead.
What a shame.
By the time this came out. He's definitely dead by Jurassic World, so there's definitely no John Hammond in Jurassic World.
Well, he looked, I know he was sick in the movie The Lost World. Maybe he was actually sick also at that time. That's why he's like barely in the movie.
Yeah, it's entirely possible they wrote the script to accommodate the fact that he'd barely leave his bed. I mean, that is totally possible. I have not looked into it, but it doesn't mean I get no John Hammond to quote this movie, which is unfortunate. But we do have Sam Neill back, which is different from the second one, because the second one was, this is the Goldblum one. The third one is, this is the Sam Neill one, and there's a little bit of Laura Dern, but she's a cameo basically. And then Sam Neill is our main character, and the plot revolves around a married couple, or well, kind of, conning him into going to the island, the second island from the second movie, that is, Isla Sorna, because Isla Nublar is the first island, I think, or it's the other way around, but I think I'm right. I think
I think so. I just played Jurassic World Evolutions, and that sounds right.
Okay, all right, we'll trust the video game. Do you get both islands in that?
You get all 5 of the 5 deaths.
So you're telling me there's like 3 whole islands we've not even had movies about yet?
Yes, and they'll have very functioning parks thanks to me.
No, very good, very good. Hope you're turning a profit. Not too many tourists been eaten, hopefully. But so that's basically the plot, is that they're looking for their son who became stranded here. There's a little prologue to kind of explain how that happened, and then that's the movie. They're stranded on the island once again. We're going through the jungle. There's dinosaurs. There's bigger dinosaurs. There's pterodactyls this time, and that's kind of basically all I need to say. I will get to more stuff and spoilers, but I will start off with a simple question. Tara, obviously we've both seen this before, but how do you feel now after all this time about Jurassic Park 3?
I like it. I think it's a fun B movie. It has a lot of things in it that I don't like about it, but it gives me cool new dinosaurs that are chasing and eating people, and some really good shots, good set pieces. But it's not a good movie. But I don't know. I guess you take what you can get. And this gives you, more dinosaurs. So I still kind of like it.
I kind of like it as well as a B movie, which is, it kind of knows that it's that and doesn't try to be anything else. And I think that's why it's ultimately more successful to me than The Lost World is, where it's kind of silly. It's actually even goofier than I remembered it being, but at least it's by far the shortest of the movies. It's only 90 minutes long. It is brisk. And it has no interest in doing anything else than having people run from dinosaurs again. Now, there's complaints to be had. There's, arguably, like, we're just running in a jungle for the third time. Like, couldn't have done something different than that, Like, that's a fair complaint.
Sure. I'd say the major complaint is just the characters. The new characters, for the most part, are terrible. But it is really, really awesome to see Sam Neill in this movie.
Well, you actually have some good actors here, which is the weird thing. You got William H. Macy and Tia Leoni, like, as this couple, and then some no name is Billy. Like, I don't know who it is, but like,
I don't know who he is either.
And then the kid who's just kind of whatever. But like, the characters don't bother me that much, to be honest. Like, their dialogue is cheesy. Even Sam Neill's dialogue is cheesy. Like, I was actually almost starting to laugh eventually. The amount of times this movie will have other characters talking, and then there'll be a close-up of him where he says something really quietly, where he's like, raptors, or he'll be analyzing something, and he'll go, we need to run, or like, there's all these intense close-ups of Sam Neill saying something as he realizes something while the other characters are bickering with themselves. It happens over and over
He's
again.
the intense expert on the island, so
it has that problem. It has lots of goofy moments. We'll get to the dream sequence where Velociraptor's talking. Don't you worry, we'll talk about that. But like, ultimately, though, it's easy to kind of forgive a lot of it because at least it's just kind of dumb fun and knows what it's doing in that regard. And you can tell that it's not a good, Joe Johnston's not as good as Steven Spielberg. Like, the direction is a lot more kind of generic, I guess I would say. Like, there's a moment early on when they're like spinning in the plane, and I could just kind of feel like, I don't know, it looks so like, yeah, this is the almost like how you'd shoot this without giving it much thought. Yeah, of course we'll have the camera spinning, and we'll just do that, and it'll just be this sort of moment. I don't know. It didn't feel like we had the same kind of like craftsmanship in the direction.
Sure, I agree with that. I mean, even The Lost World, although not a great movie, it's still pretty well directed, and then the scenes are has that intensity and the wonder that you get from Spielberg. And this one doesn't have that, but I do kind of enjoy it more because it is a lot more fun. It's more of a ride, and it right from the beginning it doesn't make you wait for it.
No, it gets into it pretty quickly. There's some really weird leaps in logic and some things to kind of pick apart.
Sure, there's some nitpicks.
Yeah,
I mean, and some major.
Yeah,
picks.
I'd say it's more than nitpicks, but like, I mean, it's a dumb B movie. But if you like dumb B movies, you'll probably get something out of it. If you want something that even comes in the same hemisphere as the original Jurassic Park, you're not going to get it. In fact, none of the movies are going to do that for you. Like, and that includes the ones we're not done yet. Like nothing is in the hemisphere of the original Jurassic Park. Just like there's no shark movie that's in the hemisphere of the original Jaws.
I guess there's just even Spielberg couldn't make a great sequel, so
no,
it's time to abandon that hope.
Yes, and I am of the opinion as well that he never, like, as much as obviously the dip's not as bad, I don't think he ever captured the first Indiana Jones again. Like, Last Crusade's a really good movie, but I don't think it's as good as Raiders. And I know there's those people out there who think Temple of Doom's the best one. I know they exist. I acknowledge your existence.
I've never met these people.
But I disagree. Do you think there's people out here there that think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is the best one? Do you think those people exist?
If they do, they have to be children who it was the only one that they saw.
Yeah.
Like there are people who love the prequels because they were children when they saw it. And they like it more the original of Star Wars. So, and it's just because they were the right age.
No, it's because they're idiot children. Let's call them what they are.
No.
They're idiot children.
I was an idiot kid who also liked bad movies.
Oh yeah, but then you grew up and you looked at them and went, "These are terrible. Why did I like these?" Right?
I don't think that's true at all. I think people grow up and they hold on to it because of nostalgia.
I know.
And they never revisit it, and they just say forever, no, Johnny Five is the best robot. No, he's not. Short Circuit sucks. Does not hold up.
Yeah, I suppose the first thing we should probably talk about is the new dinosaurs, because there's two real things to talk about. There's the main dinosaur, which is the Spinosaurus, which is bigger than a T-Rex. It has a big fin in its back. And then there's also the pterodactyls, who, I mean, were technically teased at the end of Lost World, but they weren't really in it. We see them for a second at the end. It wasn't like a thing. Whereas here they're actually in a set piece. They're actually in a moment, a scene of suspense and action and blah, blah, blah. The weird thing is, though, is that the ending of Lost World makes no sense continuity-wise with how they appear in this film. Like...
Yeah, but this film kind of does that too, because we get Jurassic World and there's no mention of the ending of this movie either.
I can almost buy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if Jurassic World wants to say that this sequel's never happened, although I feel like it probably mentioned the San Diego thing maybe at one point. I can't remember.
They definitely did in this one.
Oh yeah, they did in this one for sure. So I mean, if they want to like just sort of pretend the sequels didn't happen, it's just like a direct sequel to the first one. It's not the first franchise to do that with like a you know, a comeback sequel.
That is true.
You know, Halloween's done it like twice. So and I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre's about to have done it for a third time by the time the next one comes out. So like, it happens.
Hasn't Terminator been guilty of that multiple times also?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, well, it's weird because Salvation is like, how do you count that? I mean, technically that included 3 still and 2, so I guess Terminator did it. Yeah, it's done it twice because Genesis kind of did it, and then Dark Fate did it. I mean, it included 2 still, but it cancelled out, you know, the other ones.
Right.
So, you know, this murky. I think it's. I think though that this is actually small enough in terms of the context of what people would talk about in the future that it might not get mentioned. Like, the one time it might come up actually is the next one, because all 3 of the cast members are back, so there might be like a passing reference between, like, say, Goldblum and Sam Neill when they comment on their own little adventures like they had
on the second island.
Yeah, but at the same time though, they could get away with not mentioning it, and it doesn't really like mean it didn't happen. It just means they didn't bring it up. You know, like,
yeah.
They can kind of work their way around it. It kind of works, but yeah, because at the end of Lost World, the pterodactyls are flying around, but when we see them in this movie, the entire story of them in this movie is that they're still trapped in a cage, and then obviously they're out by the end of it. Unless you argue that final shot of Lost World is set after Jurassic Park 3, which is, I mean, I
can't remember like if it's separate or not.
It's just a standalone shot. If you remember, it's just when Hammond's on TV talking about, life finding a way and how they're flourishing and blah blah blah.
It is a tease, like, for another sequel. It's like, ooh, now they're coming off the island because they've got wings. It's going to be a Jurassic World.
I am willing to bet you anything that the only reason why there's pterodactyls in this movie is not because they planned for it. It's just because when they went to write the script, they went, well, shit, the last one teased pterodactyls at the end. We have to put them in it somehow. Like, I'm almost willing to bet you money that that's how it happened. Is that they put it in there as like, oh, we want to show some pterodactyls in this movie, and there's no place for them in the script, so we'll just show them at the end. And then the third movie.
I mean, it's a movie about dinosaurs. You want to get people's favorites in there, and a lot of people, it's their favorite dinosaur.
That's true.
You know.
That's true.
Plus, it is a pretty decent sequence.
No, the sequence is good. I'm not critiquing the sequence. I mean, if anything, it may even be the best sequence in the movie.
Yeah.
But I'm just commenting. My critique here is less about this movie actually, and more about just how Lost World kind of threw them in at the end with like, just willy nilly without really thinking about it, and how this movie just had to kind of ignore it to make sense.
Yeah. Although when I went and saw The Lost World, I never really thought that there would be a third one. I don't know why. It never occurred to me that they would make another sequel to like that. Those were the 2 Jurassic Park movies we were going to get. I mean, I was a fool, obviously, but
yeah, when I was a kid, I used to think every movie I liked was going to get a sequel, and there was always going to be more. Like I remember being like 7 and looking forward to Police Academy 8, like, you know, because like of course they're making one. Why wouldn't they be? And like, so I always expected a third one, and then
what else is Steve Guttenberg gonna do? You know,
and I always expected Jurassic Park 4, and I guess technically, eventually, we got Jurassic World, which in a way counts as that. But it's
yeah, I don't know. Like maybe it's just because I didn't think Spielberg would do another one, or I heard that he wouldn't have done another one. I'm like, oh well, then that's it. There's not going to be any more.
Hey, maybe this was your first example of like liking a movie that's with a director, and then the series eventually diverts from the director and getting kind of the lesser quality one that's like, oh, this is someone else doing it, and even though we're saying it's better than Lost World,
it's always kind of seemed like a bonus movie. Like, yeah, to me, like, oh, this is just the bonus material for Jurassic Park. I don't know why. Like, it seems very separate from the other 2, and so I just kind of think about what it is, though. It is literally just we're back on an island running from dinosaurs. There's like almost no plot to it. It's it does feel like a bonus movie because there's nothing really to it. But at the same time, that's almost what makes it better than the Lost World, because it doesn't have any of that bloated stuff that Lost World had.
that tried to make it. And I'm not saying you can't do more of it. I think there's actually the hints in this movie of a good character arc. It doesn't really have a character arc, but there's the hints of something that could have been good in the hands of a better writer. There's almost a story in here about how Alan Grant, and let me finish my point before you shake your head at me, all right?
No, I'm saying I'm not shaking my head at you. I'm shaking my head at the writers because I'm just thinking about it. None of the characters really have a decent arc. But some of them are like, oh, I was wrong by the end, but like,
yeah, that's basically nothing. Yeah, but there's almost a story in here, or at least hinted at, where Alan Grant, and this could have been interesting if you had a good writer doing this story. It could have worked. But there's almost a story in this movie about how Alan Grant, after Jurassic Park, didn't like dinosaurs anymore, and he still did his job. He was still
paleontologist.
Thank you. I can't want to say archaeologist, but that's not right. It's not right. Damn it. Right. But he kept doing his job, right? And there's one or two references to how his second book was a bit more cynical because he didn't like dinosaurs as much. And I almost, because there's a moment in this movie, it's quite late on, and I won't get too spoiler here, but there's a moment in this movie where they're on like a little boat, and it does that sort of thing from that we've had in the previous movies where they're looking at a lot of the dinosaurs, the herbivores specifically, and the main theme, right? That comes in, right? Good music, of course, and it's like the characters stop and just sort of stare, and they're just in awe, and they're in this wonderment of these wonderful beings being alive. And it fell really flat for me in this viewing because I just went, you know what? This is the third movie. This isn't that impressive anymore, especially since the CG in this one's a bit more spotty. More on that in a minute, but. But they're looking at these dinosaurs, and the kid, what's his name? Eric?
Troy? Eric. Yeah, I don't know why I said Troy.
Eric, yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, look at this. This is magical. And I got really cynical in my head because I was like, yeah, but we've done that. This isn't that special anymore. Like in the first movie, when we first see the Brachiosaurus or whatever, it looks great. And it's like this moment of like, oh my god, they did this, they pulled it off, and you're there with the kid because the technology was real, because they actually pulled this visual off to that extent. You were kind of with the characters and being in awe of this beast and being along for the ride.
We're all in awe for different reasons, but at the same thing.
Yeah, it works on a sort of meta level almost. Whereas in this movie, I'm like, we've done this before, but even for the characters, you've just spent an hour running from dinosaurs. Like I know these ones are more safe, but like. Is it really that impressive at this point? But I actually had that because they're talking about Billy and how he's kind of young and like he's still in the wonder of it. And I thought, yeah, there is almost a story here that you could have done about Alan Grant rediscovering the beauty of dinosaurs, and even though many still try and kill him, there's almost a story here about him finding his passion again for the thing that he loved in the first place, because he's kind of a broken man. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have a story in this, but you can almost see that story, like you can almost see how a writer could take that little thread and turn it into the core, like, heart of the movie, that just because these things are scary and just because they're dangerous, because people love tigers, people love lions, and if you're in a room with a tiger, you're scared shitless because it might maul you, right?
I think it's more his arc that they were trying to go for is that he doesn't see what's on this island as dinosaurs. He sees them as genetically altered, engineered monsters, not dinosaurs. And then, but because he's still fascinated by raptors, when he's on the island, like, he is observing the raptors as a paleontologist, as a scientist, and is learning from them and is excited about it again.
Yeah. No, I
mean, there's that there, but that's the only thing.
I agree. That's what they're going for. I think like what I was saying there about like what they could have done. I definitely think that has more of a heart to it that they could have played with. No, it doesn't though. I mean, the movie does nothing with either of these things really. Like it's there in the smallest way, and that's kind of really what makes it a B movie, right? If they'd actually given this a great character arc, it could have been better than the first one almost. Because I mean, the first movie is obviously a much better made movie, much better set pieces.
Rewrite the parents.
Oh, of course, yeah. I'm not saying there's not a lot you have to change, but if they actually give Alan Grant that strong a character arc, because one of the things that makes the first movie work so well is that Alan does have this character arc of looking after the kids, right? He goes from not liking kids, and by the way, the start of this movie kind of shits all over it a little bit by like, oh, they broke up because he didn't want kids, and now she's married with someone else with kids because he couldn't do that. Like, that's kind of, it's this thing that sequels always do to justify continuing the story, where they have to ruin the happy ending of the previous movie, and they're like, oh, come on, like, it was fine ambiguous. Like, don't get me wrong, it's the intelligent choice that if she wanted kids and he didn't, that they should have broken up, sure, but like, don't ruin my happy ending to tell me this. Like, I don't need to know it, right? But like, you have this. You have this core idea in the first movie about this, that him being this like reluctant father figure and becoming it. I do almost think they make it this more personal thing about how he lost the love for the thing that drove him his entire life, and then potentially like rediscovering that even in the middle of all the danger, and like seeing why there's beauty in this and why he cares and why he wants to study this. Like, him finding that again could actually be a really beautiful story that says, okay, sure, his potential marriage to Ellie, didn't go anywhere because he didn't want kids, and that's not who he is. But the problem is, at the start of this movie, he doesn't even have who he is either. He, like, what he was before, that relationship, what he was when he was with her, is missing because he lost his love for his work. And I think there's something to be said where you could have almost a very uplifting story about him finding himself again and being like, no, he can be self-fulfilling, he can have a happy life and get what he wants out of life, and all he had to do was remember why he loved what he loved in the first place. And it's not like him and Ellie have an unhealthy relationship. They seem to be actually very, good friends, and have a healthy bond and whatnot. Like,
sure. And he's not terrible with the kid. Like,
he's trying his best.
He's with Ellie's kid, Charlie, and teaching him about which dinosaurs would attack each other and which ones wouldn't. He's not like telling him how, like, what would happen if he came across a raptor and how the raptor would tear him apart while he's still alive. So
he's doing better than he did in the first movie. Although arguably though,
he's grown.
That said, this kid's like, what, a third of the age of that kid in the first movie, so maybe this is his version of, like, a 3-year-old's dinosaur speech. As soon as
the Sesame Street version.
Yeah, as soon as the kid hits 12, it's like, oh, all blood and guts. Oh, he's going to gut you and like maul you, and he's going to be alive when he starts feeding on you, and blah blah blah. That's possible. But he seems to have a healthy relationship with her. It's kind of bittersweet, but it is what it is.
It's a bit like Ellie is trying to keep him in her family. Like, sure, they didn't work out as a couple, but yeah, she still sees him as family and is trying to incorporate him into her family.
I think because she knows that if she doesn't, he's going to be alone.
Yeah.
To an extent.
I mean, if you can't make it with someone you go through that experience with on an island, then...
Yeah, he's kind of traumatized, yeah. He's kind of bitter, and like, so the seeds are there for something potentially special, and like, I think... What's funny about a movie like this that, is just a goofy B movie and doesn't really have any meat on the bone, is that, like, seeing it enough times, like, I start to see the hints of what could be a really good story told in it. And people say, oh, you're being too aspirational here. It's ultimately a movie about running away from dinosaurs, but why can't that have a great character arc? Why can't that be a great character piece in a story that is kind of uplifting? It could be. Like, why not?
Sure.
And don't get me wrong, I have fun with this movie. I'm not really complaining that much, but it's just as we talk about it, I'm like, there's actually potential here that they didn't use, and like, what I am describing could end up being the best Jurassic Park movie. I don't think they're ever going to do anything like that.
It would have been like Jurassic Park meets Hunt for the Wilder People.
It would be. Okay, this is a weird comparison to make because this is not a good movie, but you know how the premise of Batman Forever is like Batman realizing like why he's always going to be Batman, that he does it for himself, and that like he can't stop being Batman, and it's like it's more of a healthy thing now, and like I mean it's kind of silly.
Val Kilmer one.
Yeah, it's the Val Kilmer one, right? Because the original premise of that movie, which was kind of butchered with the execution, was supposed to be that it was about him kind of like leaving the unhealthy obsession aside and committing to being Batman for better reasons, and realizing why he wants to be Batman. You could have this could have almost been Jurassic Park Forever, where Sam Neill realizes why he's a paleontologist, and he's like, I'm going to commit myself to this, and I love it again. And like, this is him finding his mojo once more. Mm-hmm. Like, there's probably better examples, but for some reason, I think I probably cut this out, but there was like a Batman rant at one point earlier on that was cut out, which is why the Batman movies are in my head. But like, so, I'm just like, Hell, look, this movie's not that deep. I have to bring something to the table, and me pitching my alternate version of Jurassic Park 3 is what you're getting, all right? So
I don't think it's the I don't think it's a worse version.
thank you.
I think there's definitely potential in this film for more character development and arcs that was unexplored.
Thank you.
Was just mostly there to give you more dinosaurs.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if I'm getting quite the lights going off excitement about my ideas that I was hoping for, but I'll accept it. I'll accept the somber agreement.
I suppose I'll always be skeptical of getting the ability to get a great sequel to Jurassic Park.
Oh, it's probably never going to happen. Not to the extent that I'm talking about, but yeah. I can pitch it. I can pitch. Just with the fragments that this movie gives me, and sort of say, hey, here's a potential movie out of these breadcrumbs. As it is, there's lots of running from dinosaurs and some goofy lines of dialogue, and there's like especially some stuff towards the start that really kind of made me go, oh, this is a lot sillier than I remembered. In particular, there's a moment where you know what, spoilers. Let's just I'll just do spoilers.
Let's just go into it.
We'll just start off from the start so I can start talking about things. I'll just take this time to thank our Patreon producers of David Short, Alison M. Fordyce, Cindy Palacios. I've butchered that. Tyler Hess. Thank you to you guys for being producers. That means you're $20 and up on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You don't have to support us at that tier though. You can support us for as little as $1 per month. Tara, why don't you tell them about that?
Yeah, if you like what we do and you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and donate as little as $1 per month. And that dollar will get you bonus episodes of the Ace. You can follow along with the transfer saga that we are going through, plus a bunch of B movies without the budget, like Jurassic Park 3. And check it out.
Yeah, I just realized something actually.
What's the matter?
Sorry, we'll talk about it after the record. I just realized something. The scheduling thing is fine. It's fine.
Okay.
That's not for the show. Well, it is for the show, but it's not for on the show.
Got it.
So full spoilers then for Jurassic Park 3 from this point on. So movie opens with the kid Eric and his stepdad paragliding next to the island. They're trying to get some glimpses of dinosaurs, and unfortunately there's this heavy mist where they can't see the boat, and then when the mist disappears again, everyone in the boat's been eaten and they end up crashing on the island. I actually noticed something here that I've never noticed before, maybe because I've not seen this movie that many times. It's not like the original Jurassic Park where I've seen it dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I don't know how many viewings I'm on of that first movie now, but I noticed that they actually kept because so they're together, right, and the kid's sort of strapped to the guy at the front of the guy, the stepdad. I noticed in some of the wider shots it was reversed and they had them the wrong way around and the kid was in the back.
Oh really?
Yeah, so it was a weird continuity thing there, and I feel like I don't know if it was like it was miniatures or if they had some stunt people do it for the wide shots, but they had them round the wrong way.
I assumed it was stunts and then green screen. Not great green screen.
Oh yeah, the close-ups were definitely green screen, absolutely. But yeah, so that's all I really have to say about this opening scene is that is that there was a continuity error and they had them swapped in some of the shots.
I don't know. I thought the boat thing, like, I still can't really wrap my head around what happened. Like,
yeah, actually, Joe, what's the problem with it is that it implies that there's an aquatic dinosaur we're going to meet later on in the film, and then we never do.
Yeah.
It implies something jump out of the boat and got them, but it's like we never see anything in the water.
And then left the boat again while it was still going at full speed in the water.
That's not entirely true. I suppose the Spinosaurus is in the water at one point, but it's not exactly swimming though. It kind of is. It is. Because it scares away the stuff in the water.
Okay. So, yeah, maybe you're right.
So I
maybe
guess
that was the implication. But for me, because we don't see the Spinosaurus yet, like I think I was thinking, maybe raptors, like, in the mist, like they're actually really close to the land and the raptors like jumped on and then jumped back off, but it seems a little silly.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Then we go to Alan, who's at Ellie's for dinner. He's meeting the young kid Charlie, and the the new husband, who seems to have not met before. The way he sort of introduced and shakes his hand implies that they've not met yet. How would you feel actually if a kid referred to you as the dinosaur lady?
A little old, but excuse me. I would like to be a dinosaur expert, though. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Because he gets called the dinosaur man by the kid, and he just has this sort of moment of, oh, I'm getting old. I don't know what the kid means, but I'm getting old and it hurts. So, and he talks about raptors. I thought this moment felt a little rushed to me in the script, where he starts talking about raptors, because the husband sort of leaves, goes, "Oh, I'll go get the baby. You guys catch up."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh," so she's like, "Oh, what are you studying now?" He's like, "Oh, raptors." Like, do you remember the sounds they made? And she's like, "Oh, how could I forget? I try not to." And he's like, "Oh, we think they were talking to each other. They were smarter than whales. They were smarter than dolphins. They were smarter than primates."
Smarter than primates.
It's just a little, yeah, it's just a little cheesy speech. This is the moment where I realize, okay, we're in B movie territory, because the way it's just presenting things is just so like heavy-handed and like in my face.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like, hey, you remember Jurassic Park when they were with the raptors? How can I forget?
Yep. It's interesting that, like, I think this would feel more special if the Raptors were in the second one, but they forced them in the second one as well. So, because if this was the return of the Raptors, it'd be kind of a nice tease. It'd be like, oh, the Raptors are coming back. Like, there could be some fun stuff there. And then he's at like a, he's got like a, like a seminar or whatever at a college, because he's getting college funding, but he's speaking to all the students, and they all want to ask him about Jurassic Park, but he doesn't want to talk about Jurassic Park. He just wants to talk about his research and his Velociraptor theories. And
he acknowledges the San Diego incident.
He does, yes. So it's canon still.
Everything's in continuity.
Yeah. I will say, I'm skipping ahead here, but I did actually really like when he meets Eric, and Eric mentions that he read his book, and he mentions that the second one he was more cynical. I do like that he, after like a minute, he's like, "Did you read Ian Malcolm's book by any chance?" Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, I read it." Well, so what did you think of that one then? What was your thoughts? He was kind of up his own ass. Like, yes, I like you, kid. I enjoyed that scene.
Yeah. Plus, it's a little bit like, how come he got the sequel? I had to wait to the third movie. I'm the dinosaur expert.
Yeah. Is that just because that was what was in the Lost World book? It was Ian Malcolm who was the main character. Is that like the only reason?
Yeah, he definitely was.
Yeah, I guess. Samuel's like, I'd have came back if you'd paid me.
It does feel weird that after watching this movie again, it's like, oh yeah, it feels so natural that he would be the star of the sequel. And like, Ian Malcolm is probably, like, even when I watched it the last time for this show, like I didn't understand why he had to be the lead, and I didn't think it was right for him to be the lead.
So would have been it right? See if we got like a fourth movie where Laura Dern was the lead, and it was just her leading like a separate cast. Then all three of them had their own movie. Then I'd be okay with it, just for the equality's sake.
Well, she's coming back for the next one. Hopefully Laura Dern has a bigger role this time for this upcoming sequel, because she's great, and I think the world knows it now since Big Little Lies.
I'm not expecting much. I'm expecting kind of small parts for all three of them, honestly.
I mean, Goldblum was all over the trailer for Fallen Kingdom, and he's in it for like 30 seconds.
I think what bugged me more about that, it's not even the screen time, it's the fact that he didn't even interact with any of the cast. I was looking forward to him meeting the younger characters, but he was just on his own in this courtroom scene and never interact with anyone. More than that when we get to Fallen Kingdom, but like that's what bugged me about that. But yeah, so no one really respects him. They don't clap for him. The lecturer has to kind of get the clap going because no one wants to applaud him. And then we see that he's got a dig site. He's got like this young guy Billy, who's kind of his protege, and they're digging up velociraptors.
With the ladies.
Yeah, he's flirting by showing her how to feel the difference between the fossils and just the regular rocks. He's like, smooth, rough, smooth, rough.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. A hot dig site.
Maybe this is how Alan and Ellie got together.
Yeah. Touching bones.
Back in the day. Yeah. Well, they don't call it boning for nothing. So, do you know what I thought was funny about this actually? So this movie came out in 2001. And obviously in these days 3D printers are actually a really common thing. And I think what's actually really cool about this is that I don't think the 3D printer in this scene feels like weird or like fake. It actually feels like a genuine like sort of prototype for what we have now. So it actually doesn't age it. It actually genuinely feels like, no, this actually feels like at the time it was probably quite advanced, but now this is the sort of thing like, most colleges, universities have one now. You can buy one for personal use if you do that kind of work, or if you want one. They're pricey, but they exist.
Yeah.
So, and it even looks like the finished like model that he makes of the reverberating chamber of a velociraptor. Like it does look like other things that I've seen 3D printed. Like the sort of the raw.
Yeah, it's kind of bland looking, but there's some shape to it. Like it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't feel like dated technology when you watch it.
I was impressed because it was one of those things where in most movies this is the kind of scene that makes me cringe in an old movie because I'm like, oh, they're just making up nonsense technology. I'm like, no, it's actually
Unix system.
It's actually kind of like that now. This is shockingly kind of on point with like what it's went. So fair
There's
enough.
no interactive CD-ROMs.
Yeah. Let's not mention the fact that also the security system also had like a virtual like model of the park that she flew through to like hack it.
I know that must take so much data just to render at that time.
Oh dear. So and this is when William H. Macy shows up and says that he's the head of a company and he wants to have dinner with him, and Billy accepts on Alan's behalf, which he's kind of annoyed by, and they're like, hey, we want a tour guide, we're going to fly over the island, Isla Sorna, and we want you to tell us about things. And he's not really wanting to, but then it's actually kind of how Hammond convinced him in the first one. He just whips out his checkbook and says, I can fund your dig for another 3 years. Look
at you.
I fit one in. Yes. So like it's just the setups, whatever. But it immediately it fades from like them agreeing to the plane. Like they're already on the plane, and we're which admittedly did technically happen in the original Jurassic Park as well, but there was a lot more mystery to it, right? Because there was a lot of like what I mean, okay, we know we're there to see a dinosaur movie, but we hadn't seen any yet, and it was like, oh, okay, so we're building up to seeing dinosaurs for the first time. And I have to say, when they're in the plane and they fly over the island, and there's like shots like a bird's eye shot of like over the plane, and we see all the dinosaurs running around underneath them. This might be the worst visual effects shot in all three of these movies, these three original films. It looked terrible. You can
sort of see patterns repeating themselves in like the arrangement of the dinosaurs.
It looked really rough, and I was like, oh wait, this is supposed to have the best effects of the three because it was the newest one of them. Like this was. I remember there been like on TV at the time.
Some of the effects look good, but like. I don't know. There's some clashes, like when you get to see the big bad, the big dinosaur, and it's like a mixture of animatronic and digital, and the animatronic, which is usually looks better, is so slow and like clunky looking to me. And then the CGI version of this Spinosaurus comes in, and he's like super agile and moving really fast. And then there's like the slow version of the Epos one.
The practical still looks much better though. But this is the thing. I remember on TV at the time that like when they were promoting the movie, talking about how technology's advanced so much from the Lost World, so the dinosaurs look even more realistic. And I'm watching this now, going, this looks worse. This actually looks worse
look good.
Than the previous movies. It feels more dated effects wise, even though it doesn't date in other ways maybe just because it's newer. But actually, credit where credit's due. Like I don't think the tech feels like it dates it that much. That's not to say there's not bullshit things that happen. Okay, we'll talk about those. Some of the silliest moments I actually had were on the plane. So, they're kind of interesting. There's like a weird, mysterious guy with a goatee, sitting behind them. And, but the whole thing that happens, so Grant falls asleep and he has a nightmare and he hears Billy's voice coming out of a velociraptor's mouth, which is so silly looking. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. It completely trivializes the presence of all the dinosaurs by putting one of the dinosaurs, your most dangerous dinosaur even.
I guess that is technically the first dinosaur we see in the movie.
It is, and it kind of clouds it in a completely different light where we're just kind of going, okay, so I won't take these seriously then, all movie, that's fine. And then there's a really cheesy moment after this where when he starts to realize that they're going to land the plane and he gets up and the goatee man gets up to like knock him out from behind. There's a POV shot when he gets hit in the back of the head where he kind of faints, and as he gets hit, you see William H. Macy just sort of go, ooh, and it feels so goofy. It feels so comical. Like we're in like a comedy where people can get clogged on the head and get knocked out. It just feels just really silly.
Do you hate the raptor scene?
Which one?
Because it gets made fun of all the time. I don't hate the scene.
Well, this one with the head, the talking head,
the talking dream. I don't hate it. Like when I was in the theater watching it, it was like kind of funny at the time. I don't know. Like I don't think it's like as bad as everybody says. Like I know it gets made fun of all the time, but like. It made me laugh. It's just a little dream he's having. He's trying to learn about like raptor communication, and there's a raptor there. Like, yeah, he's got raptors on the brain.
But the problem is that it gives us this really goofy visual of the raptor. So for the rest of the movie, they're not as threatening as they could be because that's what you started with. You started with this silly look. It clouds how you think of the dinosaurs for the rest of the movie.
I don't think it does.
It so does.
No, it doesn't. Like the raptors are still threatening.
It so does. They're not that threatening. They're kind of weak sauce in this movie. We'll get to them. Like it's a sad thing that the worst set pieces in this movie come from the raptors, because the pterodactyl and the spinosaurus stuff is way more fun. Stupid at times. Don't get me wrong, but more fun for sure. So. So they've landed, and the Spinosaurus immediately chases out like the Marines or whoever they've brought with them. These all the
tough guys that we saw blowing up planes before.
What's the word I'm looking for? Militants? Mercenaries, that's what I'm looking for, yeah. These mercenaries they've hired. And they immediately just run out the jungle scared.
Get back on the plane.
the mysterious one with the goatee is like the first to die, and then the plane obviously gets knocked off course as it's trying to take off, and they crash. And then the second guy dies really quickly, and then the third mercenary dies not that long into the movie. He's there for a little bit more to explain some stuff, but then he gets killed by the raptors after the raptor scenes. Which I thought is actually one of the genuine complaints I'd have about this movie, is that it's kind of lacking bite in that the only people who die are the obvious red shirts. Because the one person,
they tease another death later on, but then they bring him back in a stupid way.
The one person that actually seemed like they died who was of merit, even though Billy feels like the character who's been added just so we can have a pretend meaningful death. So I'd still critique it if it was just him that died, because he's not really he's still, out of the main cast, he feels like the one who's there to die, right? Yeah. But even that they couldn't stick to. Even that they had to bring back at the end, saying, "No, he survived. He's fine. He saved Alan's hat
somehow."
Yeah. So, so there's that. But anyway, so what was I get to? Yeah. So there's a whole bit where the Spinosaurus is like flipping the plane over, and they're all spinning around and whatnot. A T-Rex shows up though. Intense. Yeah, because they run away. They run into a T-Rex. And there's definitely a comedy beat here where Alan says, "Nobody move a muscle," and then everyone runs like behind him. And do you know the funny thing is that this joke works because it's set up in the first movie why this is funny. I don't know. It trivializes the T-Rex a little bit though, and I get that we're about to do that anyway, because the whole point of the T-Rex being here is to show how bad the Spinosaurus is, because he's about to take him down. Like, the Spinosaurus is about to kill the T-Rex pretty easily, which is annoying.
And quickly, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cheap a cheap tactic. You make your new big bad look big and evil and strong.
But it's sad. It's like, you go to prison, you gotta, first thing you do is beat up the toughest guy.
Kind of, yes, to show to everyone else that you're the biggest and baddest there is. But it kind of it's annoying because the humor here actually kind of deflates that a little bit before we even get to it, because like you're playing this T-Rex scene purely as a joke. And in the first movie, it was never a joke when the T-Rex was around. It was serious, it was scary, it was full of tension. And by doing it as a joke, you're kind of saying, hey, I mean, don't get me wrong, part of why I think the movie works is because it is kind of lighthearted and just go along with the adventure. But if I'm going to sit here and talk about it, I'm going to critique it and say why it's not better than that, and why it's not, why it doesn't elevate it beyond this silly B-movie level. And one of them is this, where it deflates the T-Rex, makes him feel like he's just there for humor, and then so... Even though I'd still maybe complain that he gets wiped out so easily, at least it would feel like it had more impact if he was that scary, like right before he does die, to show the T-Rex. It'd feel a bit hollow because it's like an easy trick, but it at least wouldn't feel like, oh no, we just made him funny and then he died. So it doesn't really mean that much anymore. And then a big problem I had with this scene though is that they run away from like, as they're fighting each other, they run away like maybe like 20 yards and then just stop and start talking to each other, and I'm like, you feel like you've moved like barely nothing. Why, like, what, you're in no danger anymore, you're far enough away, the Spinosaurus is just distracted now with a dead T-Rex, so you feel safe here. Like, I don't know, it's just weird. It's not the first time in the movie it happens either. There's like 3 or 4 times in this movie where it feels like they should still be in danger and running for their lives, but like, no, like the dinosaur's off screen now, so we can just calm down, we're fine.
Yeah, you're right, that does happen quite a bit. I do just want to say that it is hard to watch the T-Rex get taken down like super quick, and yeah, it makes me go, okay, yeah, I get that he's a big baddie, but you just love the T-Rex so much from the first movie that I wanted to see this fight, and I don't know. I don't like seeing the T-Rex die.
It is worth mentioning it's not the same T-Rex as the first movie though, because that T-Rex is still alive for later.
Yes, that's true.
So
he's on a different island.
She,
you're right.
Remember, I had to check out everyone, up everyone's skirts in the park.
That's right. Well, unless it's one of the ones that had like the frog DNA, amphibian, gender mutation.
Yes. Well, life found a way after all, right? So, I mean...
Yes.
So,
yeah, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make me hate the Spinosaurus as much as it makes me hate the movie. Which is a dumb thing to say, but...
I mean, I don't hate the Spinosaurus.
Just for the one scene, I'm like, oh, come on. You can't take down the T-Rex.
I mean, I don't hate the movie or the Spinosaurus for it. It just feels a little bit easy and cheap, I guess.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel with it. From there, they wander around a little bit. There's a couple of character beats here where like they try to show that William H. Macy and T. Leoni still kind of like have feelings for each other. They have kind of an awkward thing where she's like, "Oh, you look good." He's like, "Oh yeah, I've been swimming," and it's like, "Okay."
Well, they've only been separated for like a year, they say, so it's not a lot of time.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, because later on when they're talking about her like crashing cars, this is in the last couple of years, and they were still together the last time she totaled a car. So they've not been apart that long. But it's that, yeah. There's some wander around. They find a raptor nest, which is important because Billy steals an egg. Although we don't see it. They find like a center, one of the iGen centers, and so one of the things that we even critiqued the first movie for was how they played fast and loose with how loud a T-Rex was when he's coming for you, because sometimes there's tremors in the water and sometimes he's like a freaking ninja because he wants to be like Michael Myers and just appear out of nowhere, right? There's a scene here that actually tops this for stupidity, like by far, where one of the velociraptors pretends to be like still and not even blinking.
But Peter, they're smarter than primates.
Wait, so this Velociraptor, you're going to argue, was pretending to be a head in a jar and had its eye completely still as if it was dead, so that it could shock Tia Leoni and jump out at her.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Clever girl.
All right. I don't know. I call shenanigans, but fair enough.
It's a bit goofy.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a chase scene where they run out of the place, and it ends with mustache mercenary getting killed. I do kind of like the way he is killed though. It's very brutal. The way that the raptors kind of like claw into his back. A bit leave him alive as a trap to try and lure down the others from the tree, because they're all hiding up in a tree at this point.
Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah. Although Alan gets separated and he runs into the kid Eric, who's been on the island on his own for like 8 weeks, and he's been hiding in like a tipped over van, and he's been stealing food from the old centers, and he has a jar of T-Rex pee. I actually kind of hated this line actually, where Alan's like, "How did you get the pee?" He's like, "You don't want to know," and I just felt
it's a little Maz Kanata. How'd you get the lightsaber? That's a story for another time.
Yeah, it's kind of that. I also just kind of feels like a cheesy, like cliche line from like a kids' TV show, like
it doesn't come off natural.
Yeah, it feels like a forced movie script line, which is a shame because some of the rest of the scene I quite like. This is where the Ian Malcolm book talk comes up, and that part I actually quite enjoyed.
I actually don't mind the kid, and I don't mind the relationship he has with Dr. Grant in the film. Like they have a good rapport together. And I like that he's a survivalist in a way, and he knows a lot about the dinosaurs too, and that they have that connection. I think that helps, Grant find his passion again.
Which, don't get me wrong, I would debate that he really finds it again in the movie, honestly, but right. Yeah, in theory, yes, they
probably were trying to go for something like that.
Yeah, in theory, that's what he's there for, but I will say, at least it does make sense that the kid does know a lot about dinosaurs, because the idea that his stepdad paid for this little trip to fly by the island is probably because he knows that he likes dinosaurs. That's why he's brought him here. To win him. Yeah. So it makes sense that he is a dinosaur like fanatic in those stuff, and has read Alan's book. That lines up, so I can't really fault that.
What do you think of the dinosaurs in this movie? Like the look of them? Because like the reason they changed things was because they just had more information about dinosaurs than they used to. And so they've updated the look of all of them. I'm not into like the tiger stripes of all the dinosaurs though.
Yeah, I mean, I think design wise, I'm kind of like, I noticed to some of the velociraptors because one has like a mohawk kind of thing going on.
Yeah, they added the feathers because that was probably pointed out by paleontologists from the first movie. They were the actually people back then. Actually, dinosaurs used to be birds or whatever, so they should have some proto feathers. But I don't hate the feathers. I just hate I don't hate it, I guess. I don't know. It looks like they're trying to give them like a new, fresh coat of paint, so they could sell different types of toys with different color patterns or whatever. And then I don't know. They look like toys. They don't look like the dinosaurs that we know they are.
I think that's
from the first two movies.
I think that's fair. I don't know if I noticed it that much actually, mainly because I was just more appalled by the CG whenever the velociraptors were running around because they looked really bad. So I was less focused on the design of them, but I did notice the mohawk because that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, I'm not just talking about the raptors though. I'm talking about like all the dinosaurs. All of them had like stripes and spots, and they look like poisonous snakes.
I mean, Spinosaurus was completely new, so I was like, whatever. Because, I mean, he felt like he was basically made up anyway. So, like, whatever. Go for it. Go nuts. That's what it is. So from this point in the movie, they're separated for a little bit. There's some more bickering. And then we come to the scene where... And it was set up earlier that there's a satellite phone. And... the kid hears it ringing. Eric hears it ringing, and he's like, "Oh, that's my dad's satellite phone." Do 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 do, or whatever the ringtone was. And he goes running off. And first of all, even without where it ends up being, the idea that he can hear it from this far, where he has to run this amount of distance to get to it, is ridiculous. Yeah. I can't hear my phone sometimes when it's in another room, and that's at full volume, right? Never mind this. And they end up meeting at a fence, and this is, when they find their kid again, and they're all happy, and it's like, oh, here we go. And then they turn around, and much like the T-Rex in the first one does at the end, like a ninja, the Spinosaurus is just standing there waiting for them to notice him for some reason.
Oh, hi.
at least when the T-Rex jumped in at the end of the first Jurassic Park, he did immediately go into action. Like, he did jump in and started biting something. The Spinosaurus is waiting for his granddad. He's like, yes, I'll stand here. I'll be all posed, waiting for them.
He's like Rotor when Rotor shows up at the bar or restaurant or whatever it is, and he's backlit, and he's just like, the camera just stays on him for a long time.
Yes, you can hear us talk about Rotor as a bonus episode on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month. So, and obviously they chase them. They get through one side of the fence and think they're safe, and then the Spinosaurus immediately just crashes to this giant concrete wall fence thing, which is why, and I'm mentioning that because they immediately get into a little hut that's got a little metal barricade on it, and they can't get through that. How strong is he? Make up your mind, movie. At least have a scene in between these different feats of strength.
Yeah, a little silly.
Yeah, which then takes them into the bird cage, the pterodactyl. And I will admit, in terms of visuals, this is the most interesting the movie ever gets. Because we have them walking through.
This is the scene that I always remember from it. Yeah. I mean, I like the river scene too, but this is the one I always remember.
I mean, the two best scenes are this and the river scene. I think there's no question that those are the two standouts. Where they're walking across the bridge one by one because it's kind of rickety, so they want to not push their luck with the weight.
And it's extra foggy.
Yeah. And we have the pterodactyl just sort of standing there in the mist, kind of walking towards, and it's like, this is actually kind of creepy. It's good stuff.
It is, because it looks like it's like a human at first, or just a little bit of something. That
a little off, it's always
like a shape.
Yeah. And I do kind of like the idea that Billy has a parachute, because it's kind of this interesting little twist on it where one of the humans can also kind of fly in this scene to kind of even the playing field to help with something. That's a neat little idea to make it have it be fun, because I mean essentially the pterodactyl here for one scene. It's this one sequence. But I do think they do have a decent job, and I think that's why the movie especially feels like a B movie that's just there for the fun ride, because it is kind of like a roller coaster where there's different parts of it. Where now it's the pterodactyl part. They're here for one scene, then we never see them again, and that's it. Even though we see them at the end, but only for the little moment where they're flying. But,
it's a nothing. Yeah.
It very much feels like a video game going through levels, or this is the pterodactyl part of the movie, and Billy of course meets his demise at the end, or so it seems, but he saves the kid, and it leaves Alan feeling all miserable because he said he called him evil because he stole the raptor eggs, and he's just as bad as the people who built this place, and he feels all guilty. This is
and we believe that Billy has sacrificed himself.
And this is the closest we get to really having a proper character beat for him, is this. And like I said, it doesn't go far enough. It feels very shallow. And this scene where they're watching all the dinosaurs and they're in awe and the spectacle of it all, I'm like, yeah, we've done this before. This is not really doing anything for me. Focusing on the threat and having more fun setups of dinosaurs coming to them in different ways is what's fun here. And and we get to this bit because they get to the satellite phone, which they find in the shit. They find in the Spinosaurus turd.
Which apparently, because I read the trivia before, was made out of oatmeal. Just a lot of oatmeal.
Interesting. With some colouring, I assume, to make it a bit darker.
Or some chocolate.
Chocolate and oatmeal. Yeah. Why not?
Some cocoa powder and oatmeal, and then, which makes it a little bit better that when Grant finds the phone, he puts it right up to his ear and his mouth. You're like, Just dip it in the river first, man.
Because I actually really like this sequence here where he's got enough juice for one phone call, so he phones Ellie, And this is
I
when
like
they
this scene a lot too.
and they get attacked by the Spinosaurus. So the boat, and they've got like a safety cage, so they hide in the cage, but the boat's starting to tip and sink. And he's on the phone, and the rain's coming down. There's a good bit of atmosphere here, which I really like. But he gets on the phone, and it's Charlie who picks it up, and he's like, "It's the dinosaur man. Go and put your mum on the phone. Go and get mummy." And so they're sinking, they're sinking in the water as this kid's trying to get Ellie, and eventually Ellie's like, "Oh, Alan's on the phone. Okay."
And he's distracted by Barney the purple dinosaur. How appropriate.
Yeah, I don't know if I love or hate that.
Oh, I love it, especially when he starts jumping up and down with Barney. Like, come on, kid, you're adorable, but go get your mother.
How much do you think they paid for these Barney clips so they could do this?
Oh, I don't know.
This cost them a fortune.
Not my area of expertise.
That's cost him a fortune for this joke. But no, I like this idea that like he's trying to grab the phone and it's sliding up and down the boat, and he just gets it the last second before he's underwater, and all he has time for is help, the river, and like that's it. And it's after like the phone dies that she looks down at Charlie, and Charlie goes "Arr!" and she just gets it. And don't get me wrong, it does lead to a very kind of like rushed ending where it's just like, okay, help's here, safety.
Yeah.
Like
somehow this feels more rushed than like the ending of RoboCop. Or like more abrupt, I should say.
Sure, yeah. It's just like the guy in the megaphone especially just feels so like why you shouldn't use name like you're at an airport waiting for your client to arrive. Like there's no one else on this island. Like it's just his group. He'll be fine. Anyway, so that's a really well done scene because the water stuff's fun, and then eventually William H. Macy like climbs up this like sort of crane that's toppled over that again InGen have kind of left behind, and there's like gasoline's coming out.
His wife is is being targeted by the Spinosaurus, or his soon to be ex-wife. I think they're just separated.
Yeah, they're probably not again.
Divorced, I can't remember.
They're probably back together at the end though. It's never said, but it feels like they've probably bonded.
Yeah.
So the dangerous situation, but there's like a great thing.
Although Dr. Grant could tell them that that's not guaranteed.
Of course, yes, but they both seem to love their kid though, which is kind of the reason why Grant and Ellie didn't work out. So
that's true.
But they at one point Grant fires a flare because all the gasoline from the boat sort of spilled out, so there's like a lake of fire. It's a little bit convoluted just so we can have this great shot, but it's a great little shot where the fire's like on
is a good shot
on the river, and the Spinosaurus is kind of up there, and I mean I guess it's a little anticlimactic that he just kind of wanders off and we never see him again. There's like no like definitive ending to the Spinosaurus in this movie. It's just kind of
not really.
He goes away.
They don't really defeat him, they just escape from him.
Yeah. Which I think would work if it was like right before they get out, like if like they just get away from him, and like maybe the Spinosaurus sees the army and they start shooting at him, so he runs back in the other direction, and like it's such a simple little thing, but it feels more like a climax, whereas this just kind of feels like I almost expected to see him again after this, the first time.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, it's a fun sequence. That's what.
And it is. You mentioned that it's a lot like a video game, but this scene is taken from like all the video games that came out for Jurassic Park. I don't know if you ever played them, but there was always a river level because this was before like when you wanted to make a movie or a video game about a movie franchise, they never made it actually like the movie. They always made it like, well, we think it's going to be this. Although there is a river scene in the book, in the original Jurassic Park book, where they're on like a raft, and there's like Dilophosaurus or whatever on the other side.
Yeah, they probably used that for reference when they were making the game. If they were making it while the movie was being made, they probably used the book to sort of guide them.
Oh yeah, probably. But the video games, like all the video games, had a river level that were always so much fun and so cool to escape an island like on a little raft. So I think this movie was just like, let's put the river back in.
I bet they found a way to have a sewer level in some of those games. I bet they found a way.
I only had the Game Boy one. And I don't think there was one, but there was only like 6 levels on the Game Boy one. And it was hard because you couldn't save and you had limited lives.
There was only about 6 pixels as well.
Yeah. It was hard. I actually never beat it. I played it so much. I've gotten to the final level, but I never beat it. It's hard.
I've played the first 2 minutes of the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis Jurassic Park game, and it's impossible. So I never got any far in it.
Yeah. I mean, I was determined to beat that game, and I never was able to do it. You had to like go around and collect a certain amount of eggs before you can go to the next level. But you start off with like 3 hearts, and that's it. Like you don't replenish your hearts. And I think you have 2 lives or something, and that's it.
Yeah, games were silly, impossible. Like I bet the completion rate for some of those games back then was like 0.0001%. Like you know how you're on like PlayStation now, it'll tell you like the percentage of the platinum trophy, and it's like, you know, like only 5% of people who have played this game have gotten the platinum. Well, yeah.
Well, even on the I used to have the 3DS, and the Nintendo eShop would let you purchase like all the old games. Although Jurassic Park was never on there, because I've looked. Because I'm still determined. Like it still hurts me that I never beat it.
And it'll probably never happen because it's a licensed game. The movie tie-in games never come back like that.
That's okay. Yeah. That's okay. Like I don't need it. But even when you play the old games, like even if there was no save on it when the game came out, you can save it now. Yes. You can save in your progress. Like they added that. Like this is really a thing that people want.
Yeah, and it's still impossible.
It's not the same. You know, it's not the same like level of accomplishment.
No, but it's still a thing where those games are so hard that even saving it, like every time you accomplish something, you save it immediately. It's, no, I need to save that. Yeah. I need to save that a little bit. It's still hard. It'll take ages to get through it because every part of it's so difficult. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, after this, there's like one more sequence where the Velociraptors surround them because they want their eggs back that Billy stole, and you know, Tia Leoni says, "Give me the eggs," and she puts them out and presents them to them. And Alan, you know, uses the little 3D printed, you know, vocal chamber to like kind of try and communicate, and it confuses them enough that they don't attack them and they run off. And then they get to the beach, and there's a guy with a megaphone, and like the Marines and the Navy, you know, show up, and and that's it.
Yep.
I don't know how Ellie has
Ellie
the
really
pull.
Came through somehow.
Yeah, how does she have the pull to send?
I think she mentioned her husband is like DOD or something.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah. He's. I mean, it sounded like he did like something really dull, but yeah, it was technically in the DOD. So maybe that's the connection. How do you think he feels? Hey, honey, can you like send in like
rescue my ex-boyfriend?
Yeah, from dinosaurs, please. Like it means a lot to me that he doesn't die. Send in the troops.
Yep.
The sad part is it almost makes me go that maybe if you're going to go full B movie with this, then the movie should have been like the Aliens of this, like where this time it's war. Like this time you send in like a squad of Marines and you know, you have the battle movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Like you start
off in like it'd be like a cross between I don't want to say Predator because those were like mercenaries. Okay, it'd be like a Call of Duty in Jurassic Park.
No, here's what you do, right? You keep the same basic premise, but the kid who gets trapped is the president's kid, right? And they send in the crack team of Navy SEALs to rescue the kid.
SEAL Team 6.
Yes. I heard a great thing this week. You've probably heard this before, but I heard like fat people who really like guns are referred to as Meal Team 6, and I thought that was really funny.
I've never heard that before. It's pretty funny.
I thought that was really funny. So yeah, that's what you do, and you have them like sort of like, so you have this crack team. It's kind of like the Squadron Predator almost, right? Where they're going through the jungle, and they can take on some of the dinosaurs. Like maybe they take down a T-Rex because it's one big target. They can kind of do that. Maybe one of them dies in the process, but they're able to take it down because they're good at their job. But the Raptors are really smart.
T-Rex gets its final meal, yeah.
Yeah, but the Raptors are too smart, right? So it's like more of a mano-a-mano kind of thing there. Well, the playing ground is...
So the very last Marine that's left has to take off its gloves. All the guns. and just box it.
Hey, if I can get essentially the ending of the Grey, so spoilers here for the Grey if you've not seen it. But if I can get the end of the Grey where the last like Marine or whoever like just gets like some some little, because at the end of the Grey Liam Neeson gets like 4 little like those airplane like bottles of booze, puts them in his like in between his fingers and then smashes them, so he's basically made himself like broken glass, like brass knuckles essentially, right? And then he's like going to town with like a wolf. I want that with a velociraptor. I want like basically just the last stand of just this badass, right? He gets his
God, we are
bottles.
so good at writing better movies.
If we're going to go silly B movie, let's go with the whole shebang, right? And because he does this, the kid gets to live, but we get the final moment of the movie is him charging the velociraptor, and it just cuts to black and says Jurassic Park.
Annihilation.
I don't know, Jurassic. There must be a good punny title to add on here for like the action movie version.
More for Jurassic Park.
Oh, wait a minute. Jurassic Park.
Requiem.
No. I'm trying to think of a way to put like the idea that they're going to cause extinction, right? Like, right, where the Marines think they're that badass that they're going to make them extinct again. So you call it Jurassic Park Extinction 2.
We're the asteroid now, bitches.
Oh, you even cursed Arnold. What killed the dinosaurs?
The Ice Age.
And then he shotguns like a velociraptor in the mouth. Oh my god.
Oh boy. Well, I think that's been our review.
Honestly, it's a decent watch. It's not a good movie.
It is. It's fun.
But it's got some good set pieces. It's got some silly moments that make me chuckle. It's not something I watch often, but like it's not a bad time. Like it's fine. It's better than Lost World. I think it's more fun than Lost World.
I think so too. Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't love the parents, like especially in the first half. Tia Leoni is just so annoying, constantly yelling and screaming, and that's all she's there for. And I know why they do it, you know, it's a bit of a trope, and they're like, oh, she's a fish out of water or whatever, but like, and some of the lines she has, like she sees her current, you know, boyfriend has been eaten, and it's just a skeleton hanging from his parachute, and she screams and runs off, and she's like, no, I don't care about him, like I care about my son. And you're like, and you don't care about him at all? And
don't get me wrong, yes, she would still be more concerned about her son, but yeah, she just sort of throws it, yeah, I don't care about that.
Whatever. I'm happy that the raptors are fed.
I guess that tells us that he was just some like rich rebound guy. Like that was it. That's all he was. Like he wasn't.
I guess, but like, you don't care at all. It's a little odd.
Poor guy tried to like, impress her son, got eaten for the trouble, and she doesn't even care.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a bit rough.
He went through all that hard work to go to a place that is, you know, off limits. Anyway.
Yes, there's some weird moments. But it's okay. So Tara, what are you giving the movie?
Yeah, it's not a great movie, but I do think it's a good movie. I think it's fun. I do think it's better than The Lost World, and definitely worth watching. And the Spinosaurus is cool. So, and the birdcage scene is like top notch dinosaur chase scene. So I'm gonna give it a 7. I think it's a 7.
Okay.
Hopefully I rated that higher than Lost World. I don't remember what I rated Lost World.
Oh, you did. We were both in the 5 range for Lost World.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't really like it that much.
Yeah. I'm going to give this a 6, which is kind of where I put movies like this, where I kind of have fun with them, even though they're kind of stupid. And they have some qualities that are cool, but aren't anything serious or deep or have any sort of craft that makes them stand out. That
Sure.
I do. This is actually probably my favorite Joe Johnston movie though, which tells you what I think of his movies typically. But
Jumanji, right?
oh, okay, all right, okay, did Jumanji? I mean, obviously, I've not seen that in a long time, so I'd have to rewatch it to really.
The special effects do not hold up, but Robin Williams does.
Okay, yeah, maybe Jumanji. Captain America: The First Avenger, though,
Oh, did he do First Avenger?
Yeah, he did the First Avenger.
I think First Avenger's all right.
Well, not
I
for
don't
me.
think it's that bad. It's better than Wonder Woman.
We'll just have to agree to disagree on this one point, okay? We're usually pretty in sync with movies, but we'll just have to agree that on this one occasion that we do not see eye to eye.
Well, better CGI anyway.
Oh, I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all. There's some really bad green screen stuff in Captain America.
Oh, I don't remember the green screen, but I remember being really impressed about how he looks so little. And then
okay, sure. Oh yeah, the little stuff, the little person stuff that he has, sure, but like, there's a lot of normal stuff later on that looks quite bad.
It has been a while since I watched it, but I don't remember hating it or thinking it was particularly bad.
And Red Skull sucked as
I
well.
remember thinking I like those characters, and I like that movie.
Okay, well,
it's no Winter Soldier.
Oh, not even close. It
is the Jurassic Park 3 of the franchise.
I have never seen a leap in quality like I did between First Avenger and Winter Soldier. We went from like out of all the movies that we've had from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is like bottom 2 or 3 for me, and then Winter Soldier's like top 3. So, like,
yeah.
There's a gulf.
Not even between Thor: The Dark World and Thor: Ragnarok. It's a pretty big leap too.
That's a pretty big
Winter
leap.
Soldier was really impressive and really well done.
I like Winter Soldier.
Oh, they made like a spy thriller and it was really good.
Yeah, I like Winter Soldier more than I do Ragnarok. Although I do like Ragnarok a fair bit, but so I wouldn't say quite as big. And for all the rest, the other bad movies are Iron Man 2, Thor: The Dark World, and of course Doctor Strange, which sucked. So
what a shame for Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, I mean, I like Sam Rockwell a lot.
Be the worst one.
Yeah,
I know.
But yeah, that's what it is. So we'll see.
What are we doing next time?
What we do next week? Next time is Total Recall, which was a vote winner for the past month.
What?
We're doing it quite late,
was that
actually.
Our Arnold Schwarzenegger vote?
No, it was each one was a different action star and a different sci-fi movie. So it was like Total
that's
Recall,
right. Like Van Damme.
Yeah, there was a Van Damme, a Stallone, and another one. I think Mad Max was the last one.
Of course, Arnold won. We knew he was going to win.
Arnold.
Arnold.
So that is the next one. So by the time that goes up, it'll actually be in February, even though it was the January kind of winner. But sometimes that happens, just depending if we record it late in the month. So make sure you go and, I mean, by the time this goes up, the vote will be over. But just make sure every month, if you're a patron at the $5 tier up, because that's where you get the voting rights for all the various votes to go up, make sure you always vote in the votes before the end of the month, because that's when all the voting always ends each month. So make sure you go and vote in the next one. Yes, that is basically all I need to tell you in terms of that. We will be back with Jurassic World and these Jurassic Park reviews in about a month or so's time, so you can look forward to us hitting that too. So let us know what you think of Jurassic Park 3 in the comments. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, as we mentioned earlier, you can go to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and support us financially. But you can also rate us on Apple Podcasts. Give this podcast like 5 stars. People will find us that way. Share us on social media, and of course you can follow us on the Ace specific Twitter at the Ace Podcast. So go and have a look at all that stuff. But that's everything. Tara, would you like to promote something else that Mail Fuzz TV do?
Sure. I guess if you like this show but you're into horror films, you could check out Screams After Midnight, which is essentially the same thing except with a lesser co-host than myself. So yeah, check it out.
Yes. The amount of
Thank you
thinking,
for saying yes.
the amount of thinking you had to do before you thought of something worth recommending did not paint it in a positive light, I have to admit. I was like, I guess I can bring this
I'm trying
one
to think of what I would promote. Like, I want to promote something something smaller because Scream's
Sure.
been going on for a long time. But like, I don't know what's still going to be going on when this goes up.
I mean, the top 50 of the
Picard?
decade may still be going. Picard will definitely still be on, yeah.
Yeah. Check out our Picard reviews, which I will be a part of,
Yeah. That's going to be
or I have been a part of at this point.
Yes, yes. We're recording this.
Hopefully, you guys love our continuous praise of a perfect show.
That remains to be seen. We'll see if it's any good before we leap, continuous praise.
Hey, you
on
asked
it.
me to co-host for that one, so that's the only response I'm going to have. Fair. Totally fair and unbiased. 10 out of 10.
It's going to be fair and balanced. I'm giving it a 10 before I even see the first episode. But yeah, so yeah, check out all the stuff we're doing. Thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching the sci-fi movies, guys, and computer. That's salsa.
Rawr.